On this episode, Michael causes a crash, watches the LA traffic, and thinks he's in a different franchise. This is Mission 15, BZ Gas Grenades. The mission begins in a similar fashion as carbine rifles. This time, however, we create a traffic jam on the Los Santos freeway. We're given our objective to steal the humane van or its cargo. Choosing either method results in the same number of presses used. Here, we're going to go for the first option to steal the van. It is the name of the game after all. So, once the traffic has built up enough to bring the van to a halt, with a press of triangle, we enter the van.
I'm not fighting it!
Followed closely by a press of R2.
You fucker!
Before we can drop the van off at the garment factory, we are required to evade our massive wanted level, which is achieved before we even leave the freeway off-ramp. All that we need to do now is drive to the garment factory. The no skips run ends with only 2 presses.
Hey, Lest, I got the good night gas.
That's everything we need. I'll put out word that the score is ready to go.
The all skips run of BZ gas grenades mirrors the all skips run of carbine rifles. It doesn't have any scenes to be skipped. It does, however, just like carbine rifles, have a checkpoint between arriving at the mission and triggering the mission. I won't be explaining all this again, as it was discussed in episode 13. I will quickly cover, though, the 4 mission fail states I tested. Michael died.
Give it up!
Michael was arrested.
Get that fool! Screw you all!
The cargo was lost. And the van got away. Each of the 4 fails were repeated 3 times at 3 separate key points in the mission to try and trigger a checkpoint. When the mission is triggered, when we enter the van, and after the wanted level was evaded. No scene skip or checkpoint was found. I did test one last option though. Carbine rifles is the only mission during the setup for the loud approach, which upon delivering the LSPD van, the heist automatically begins. Whereas the smart approach requires us to complete 2 missions to begin the heist. And only after the second mission has been completed will the heist begin. So as we completed Bugstar's equipment first and the mission did have a scene skip, I wondered if only the first mission in the setup will grant a scene skip, as upon completing the second mission, the heist begins. So I loaded an early save and began BZ gas grenades before Bugstar's equipment. And after failing the mission 3 times, no skip option was available, making Bugstar's equipment the only mission out of the 3 setup missions to have a start and end scene. Not sure if this was a mistake by Rockstar or if it was an intended choice, but I guess we'll never know. So we can now conclude that the mission BZ Gas Grenades does not feature any scenes. As explained in the Carbine Rifles episode, this chapter usually goes through the entire mission and lines up all the scenes in both runs. But as no scenes exist and this is the entire mission, we can skip all of that. The 15th mission, BZ gas grenades, is completed in just 2 presses. The buttons we used are 1 press of triangle and 1 press of R2. Before we end the episode, in the next episode, we'll be covering the dual store heist. As it has 2 separate approaches to cover, rather than creating 2 separate videos, it will all be in one long episode. The episode will be broken into 3 parts. Part 1 and Part 2 will follow the same structure as a normal episode. In Part 1, we'll take a look at the loud approach, which will be broken down into the usual no skips, all skips, and combined chapters. Part 2, we'll take a look at the smart approach, which again will be broken down into the 3 usual chapters. In Part 3, we'll be going all the way back to the final scene in Mission 12, casing the dual store and see which approach is best. We'll then work our way forward through the setup missions and see which approach leads to the least amount of presses. Before all of that, however, we have for a 3rd episode in a row a button reduction update. And which mission are we returning to this time? Well, we're back to Mission 5, Complications, one more time. I have finally found a way to eliminate this press of square and get into the property without pressing a button. If you thought the previous button reduction update for this mission of skipping the Simeon fight was torture, this one is much worse. So, how is it done? Well, the answer to that question is just beyond this gate. We're going to kick a bin up the street. Which is much easier said than done, as the physics on this thing make no sense. Sometimes it goes forward, most of the time it does not. Now we have the bin at the top of the incline. We will now push it along the sidewalk until we reach this wall. And if you thought getting the bin here was annoying, this next part is not much better. The problem we have here is the bin is slightly too tall for Franklin to step onto it. So just pushing it against the wall isn't good enough. There is, however, a solution, and it's this. If we move the bin close enough to the wall and turn it 45 degrees, we halve the height of the bin, which allows Franklin to hop onto it and then onto the wall. All we need to do now is remain on the wall and eventually a gap will appear. Dropping onto the tennis court, we have successfully entered the property without a press. And if you thought that was all the reductions we were going to do, Well, I have also found a way to avoid this climb onto the truck.
It's just because you have a massive gaper, bitch.
And how exactly are we going to do that? Well, the answer to that question is just beyond the pool. We're going to kick a chair across the property. Which again is much easier said than done, because this time we have stairs to deal with. Getting the chair away from the stairs is by far the hardest part of this, because unlike the bin, Franklin can step onto the chair. Eventually the chair is separated from the stairs, and all that's left is to push it in front of the truck. Getting the chair in the correct orientation as well as the correct spot took a bit of trial and error, but I found climbing onto one of the legs gives us that extra bit of height to allow us to hop onto the truck.
It's just because you have a massive gaper, bitch.
So, after all our efforts, we can take a look at the updated numbers.
Jimmy called me a bitch!
Scene 2 went from this to this. The first climb into the property is now eliminated, along with the second climb onto the truck. The fifth mission, Complications, is now completed in just 3 presses. The buttons we used are 1 press of square, 1 press of triangle, and 1 press of R2. If you've enjoyed and want to see more, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.